Well, I think it's fair to say that Dingdong and Julian have walked away from this experience and not learned a dang thing. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't even say they walked away from it at all. Real quick before we get started, thank you to everybody who watched, liked, commented, subscribed, and shared my previous video, the video on this whole Oneyplays situation that popped off. I am very grateful to everyone who checked that out and enjoyed it. I didn't think that there would be much more to say about the situation, because usually whenever Dingdong gets himself into some drama or whatever, he'll just vague post a little bit and then delete everything and go into his hidey hole for a couple years. But a lot's been said, and fair enough, you want to defend yourself. However, the way in which they've done so since the initial 24-hour stream has not been healthy, to say the least.
By the way, if people were really that deeply upset about what we talked about, I think a lot more would be getting said about that rather than us directly.
Yeah, resulting to insults kind of shows that you don't actually have an argument.
Yeah. Wouldn't you be asking questions about things instead of just insisting you have to shut your fucker mouth right now? Wasn't that one of Zach's jokes that says you have to be nice to me? Weird to comment something that way, isn't it?
Zach would never say something that could be used against him.
I'm not using it against him.
I'm joking.
Oh.
Now, in the past, whenever Dingdong has gotten himself into some light drama, and it really was light before, any of this stuff popped off, he would usually go into this, you don't make anything of it, don't save this, don't clip this, don't talk about it even though I made this all public on my live stream, whatever. Definitely don't use it for anything at all ever. And this kind of like woe is me attitude, it existed before this. Like, people are saying this is a new thing, and even Dingdong and Julian are saying they haven't changed that much. Well, I disagree with them, but when you go back and listen to some of the older stuff, you do see the seeds of that behavior there. So this is in no particular order. I'm going to be going through and reacting to some of the things Dingdong and Julian have said in response to all the drama, which they supposedly wanted it to come to an end, but they're still talking about it and they're still doing it publicly on a live stream, They're not making some kind of like pre-written, pre-recorded video to address and clear everything up. It's still kind of off the cuff, emotional response type stuff. And they're still saying like, oh, don't clip this, don't save this. But then when people clip and save it, they're like, oh, it's out of context. But then you delete your own live streams, so where's the context going to come from if people only saved a little bit of it, right? You're not going to post it yourself. You don't even keep up your own Blue Sky posts after you make them. And just to be clear, this video isn't to like go out of my way to dog and attack on them because I hate them or anything. I'm making this video because I care about Oneyplays. I still watch the show. I still enjoy all the old stuff with Dingdong and Julian, especially whenever random clips pop up on various social media feeds. And when people have been sharing them recently to kind of like disprove some of the revisionism that Dingdong has been going on about, I'm still fond of those clips and those old moments. And that's not something I'm usually capable of just personally. Like, if a band I used to love goes out on their social media and says, oh, anyone who comes to our show wearing a MAGA hat is going to get beaten up by our audience, it's usually very easy for me to stop listening to that band and never even get their songs stuck in my head ever again. So the fact that I can still watch these old Oneyplays moments and enjoy them, despite two of the people in them being incredibly different and, kind of gone insane, for lack of a better term, I think that shows that I do care. I haven't like written these people off in my head. I haven't like excommunicated that part of like Oneyplays history from my enjoyment or whatever. But anyways, on with the reactions and responses. So right off the bat, this is disingenuous as fuck, right? Like, yeah, there's tons of comments of people joking about the tuba stuff, myself included. But no one is using that to attack your character. Nobody is saying Dingdong is a bad person because he has some weird tuba fetish. They're talking about all the shit that you said and talked about Oni and Zach and the rest of the guys. Aside from jokes about the weird stuff, videos like mine and other people covering it have been doing nothing but addressing the arguments. People haven't been going after Dingdong and Julian for no reason. This isn't unprompted. You went on a day-long live stream, looping over and over, in and out, complaining about 10-year-old shit. Revising history in your head and hallucinating insults and wrongs that were done towards you. You're saying that resorting to insults means that you have no arguments. Insulting is all you've done on that live stream. You insulted Oni and Zach and the editors and everybody else there. You called people alt-right chud Nazis with no evidence at all. You're saying that smiling friends is some kind of alt-right dog whistle because of the people who work on it. And we're going to see this a lot with their responses. It's a ton of projection. Then Dingdong acknowledges something that Zach said, which was a joke. He acknowledges that it was a joke. And he's like, oh, you watch those guys, right? Why don't you live by that code? It's like, you just acknowledge that it's a joke, not some code of honor. Like, what?
You guys are the reason that we've been able to survive. No, it's not because of any of the people that we were working for. No, it's not because of any of the people that we had like been hovered by in a lot of cases coming off of any of this either. You guys. The communities that were coming by on our streaming channel on YouTube, over on Twitch, over here, Patreon, you guys have allowed us to survive through all of this. If you guys were not here, there is no way we would have ever made it through any of this. Not one goddamn bit. It would not have happened.
I hope I don't have to point out how incredibly disingenuous that was. You would have not started that following that you have, that what little community you have, if it were not for Oneyplays. And as much as I hate to say it, your time at the Game Grumps studio. I was debating whether or not to even mention this in the last video, but I think at this point it bears some relevance to what's going on. But a lot of you might remember the whole Dream Daddy controversy that Dingdong kind of started a couple years ago. Now, I'll be honest, I am biased against the Game Grumps. I hate what Egoraptor and that company have become, but I think I might have to side with them on this one. I've seen a lot of people say, hey, this kind of behavior from Dingdong and Julian seems kind of familiar, doesn't it? And when I think about the whole Dream Daddy situation, yeah, it seems like we might have all just taken Dingdong's side on that drama because of all the goodwill that he hadn't spent yet. But when you really think about it, the Game Grumps, mainly just Egoraptor, was financing a gay dating sim, right? And I guess none of the people involved in the creation of the game were actually gay. And if anyone has a problem with that, that's a fair criticism for anyone to have, right? But Dingdong and Julian made it seem like they were more involved than they actually were. Like, their feedback should have, meant a lot more than it actually did. And it's one thing, if you're giving feedback on a friend's project, I think that's totally fine. But again, they don't have to listen to you. And I don't even think Dingdong and Julian were really friends with the Game Grumps so much. It's just that Oneyplays was sharing the studio space at the time, so they were kind of around each other. So it's kind of like going to another business and being like, hey, don't do that. And then when they don't listen to you, you take it super duper personally and you start making the relationship between everybody working in that space kind of weird. That's not like a healthy response to have, And also their main criticism that it's exploitative of gay culture. Like, isn't everything that's a hit with that community kind of exploitative in some way? I mean, a lot of that media does come off as pandering and, those audiences like it. But again, it's not my thing. It's not the kind of game I would ever play. I don't know how well it did. I'm not defending it, but I'm just saying it's kind of emblematic of what we're seeing with Dingdong and Julian here.
This is doing a lot better now. Considering this is what's always been hovering around us, I'm sure it's a lot of stress off of his own end anyways, with us being able to move more off to the side. I know he doesn't want to hear about a lot of this stuff. I know it's why he was so concerned about that finale and why he was handling it the way he did.
I do feel bad for him because it seems like he has a very unhappy life.
Yeah, I mean, that is part of it too. And the last time that we did see him, he was expressing he was pretty unhappy. He didn't like where a lot was going. He still wanted to, maintain this, tough exterior and everything. He wanted to still go with a lot of this, but I know it's something that's been impacting him since the start, all this. I hope he's doing a lot better, but I don't know.
Bro, what is he even talking about? Pretty sure around the last time they saw each other was when Chris was having major back issues and probably going through that drama with his ex at the same time as well. The stuff with Mick and Veronica. I don't know, like if I talked to somebody like 5 years ago and they were in a bad spot, and then you asked me today how are they doing, I would say I don't know. Why would I assume that they're unhappy with their life still when I have no idea what's going on? Even if Chris is very unhappy right now, he's not going to Walmart, seeing a Smiling Friends DVD and having a panic attack. Also, yeah, I don't personally know Oni and the rest of the guys, but I don't know, they look like they're doing somewhat okay.
No, we pushed ourselves really hard while they were just laying in our bed the whole time. And sleeping during the daytime and staying up all night, and we would hear them rustling around and doing whatever the fuck in the bedroom. I mentioned it that one of the days when we did play YIIK, they went into the bathroom and turned on the fan and went on their phone and said how it was going to be a video that was going to do really badly, and it seemed like he was really mad. And hoping that we weren't going to hear him, except he doesn't know our house. That fan doesn't cover shit. We heard the whole thing.
Oh no, he was on the phone to complain about something while he was in the bathroom. Why are you listening to him when he's in the bathroom? What the hell? Like, is that illegal? Like, you guys recorded something and he thought it wasn't gonna work out? We really gotta cancel him for that one, guys. And I mentioned this before, this was back when Chris had the really bad back issues and he had to be like laying down all the time or else he'd be in pain. So you're really gonna make a big deal out of him like having to sleep all the time?
I think the finale was supposed to be a thing of keeping us stalled out and like continuously as a factor here, which is why every single time it got brought up after the first time, it always had to be some vague kind of insult slung towards our direction like we messed everything up. And I can also speak to this. I did get to see there was a direct image board post that I'm pretty sure came right from him to insist that we messed up the entire thing. Which, if you guys follow us and if you know anything about us, no, we commit ourselves very hard to the things we do. It's why I put up with all that to play YIIK to begin with, even when the game froze and even with all the grinding, and that's why I reverse engineered the game. No, I put a lot of effort in, actually. It was really unfortunate. And it's why it took someone having to donate money for them to eventually say that there was no finale. And having kind of their mannerisms slip out a bit, being a little bit backhanded to people over that. For example, the slanty smiley face thing is being done sarcastically whenever it's being done.
Okay, brother, you are the king of vague posts. You do not get to complain about other people being vague. And you're like assuming that random 4chan posts, which by the way, you got angry at him for being on 4chan. Why are you on 4chan? You're getting angry that those posts are from him with no proof? You're just assuming they're from him? Alright. And then we have, oh, woe is me. I had to play YIIK. I had to grind in YIIK. Oh my god. Brother, you're getting paid to play video games for a living. You know how many people would gladly trade lives with you in that scenario? Jesus Christ. Oh, but it's backbreaking work because you had to reverse engineer the game. Well, if it was that serious, tell us to what degree. To what degree did you have to reverse engineer the game? How intense was it? Help us understand. Help us get an appreciation for what you did.
In 1975, I walked YIIK up on stage. Who the fuck are you?
Oh, and then you're like, oh, he's putting it off to stall it so he can keep us around and make us do more stuff. You said the whole reason is he wanted you to do more and more stuff with the fake game that he wanted you to create, and that's why the finale didn't work out and it just stopped. Now you're saying it's all his fault, and not only that, but he didn't want to talk about it until he was forced to because of a donation. He talked about it on Reddit for free, and every single time he answered someone's questions about it, he was very careful to make sure and specify Dingdong and Julian have nothing to do with why it didn't work out. He never once threw you guys under the bus, and you're saying that's what he did. Now, the other thing I wanted to address was the whole, oh, it was all Julian's idea, Julian made Dingdong do everything. I very briefly touched on that point in my last video, but I'll get into it more again. Yeah, that statement probably isn't totally wrong, but at the same time, like, he didn't say, Dingdong, you gotta go on this 24-hour long live stream and every now and then just, make sure you shit on our old buddies. Because you could hear it in Dingdong's voice. He meant a lot of that shit. Some of that shit you can tell he was saying on behalf of Julian. Some of that stuff you could tell he was really riled up about. And the other defense I've heard is that, well, it's both of their mental illnesses feeding on each other, enabling each other. And yeah, I kind of agree with that. Julian's one is probably worse. He probably, put a lot of smoke in Dingdong's head to make him believe some of these things. But at the same time, these are like years old things that both of them have been holding on to. And the way Dingdong talks about it, he sounds like, oh, he remembers all these minute details about every interaction. So yes, I think there definitely is a worse offender of that relationship going on. But they've both made their choices. They've both chosen to stay together and continue this and hold on to these things and bring it up in this way. And they've both chosen to go further down these hyper-leftist rabbit holes. If you listen to some of the bits from old Oneyplays episodes with them, yeah, they're not like right-wing guys, but they were common sense guys. They would call out a lot of stupid SJW bullshit. and make fun of their talking points and stances and stuff like that. And now they've become exactly those people they used to laugh at. And it's gotten so bad that even some of their own current fans from their smaller insulated audience today are calling them out on the crap they're pulling. And you can have a look at this one interaction Julian had with one of his furry fans. You know, this guy is no right-wing guy. He's fully into all of that weird fetish stuff and leftist stuff. And he's trying to have a very honest and open conversation with the guy. And Julian just like is not engaging with it at all. And instead of ignoring it or blocking the guy and moving on, he is responding with all this like NPC like buzzword babble as if it proves something. And this shows you exactly how far gone they have become. This is a small one, but following up on the original Crash Out where he was like, oh, Oni outed me as being a furry.
Oh,
You gotta jump on
You
him.
wanted to play this because there's a frog.
You gotta bounce.
Listen, you're gonna throw it at me every episode. I mean, I get to do it to you a couple times.
I've done it to myself more than enough, Julian.
Hey, frog fucker.
Oh, okay, here we go. Here we go.
Yeah, frog fucking pedophile.
Chris, I like it when they're old, not when they're young.
Okay.
By your own admission, you out yourself all the time. And apparently Julian outs you all the time too. Last thing I want to take a look at here is this whole who made Bulbo thing. Now, Dingdong claims that he basically made the foundation of Bulbo. The original source code was his. Because people said this whole outburst crash out was in response to Bulbo having its demo put out and Chris getting awards at this convention or whatever, and them being jealous. And to that, Dingdong said, no, that would be like competing with myself, implying that, he made the game. And then he went on stream to clarify the source code was his, and he gave it to Chris. And the gist of it is people are assuming that Dingdong was taking credit for creating Bulbo, even though it's all Chris's idea. The game is about an Irish kid with a bowl cut, like Chris was. And of course, Dingdong goes on his usual, oh, they cut out the context, that's not what I was saying, I didn't say I came up with all the ideas. So is that true? Did they really cut out the context? I don't know. But fair enough, explain yourself now.
No, I didn't say I didn't create Bulbo. I did the original source code for it. I told the story on the stream. Did they cut it out from the video? Because it's only a 40-minute video. Did they cut that one out just because that's context? It was supposed to be for a fake finale because we were going to be moving on from everything. Yeah, no, the context on that one was supposed to be for a fake finale video that he wanted to have like a fake argument because he prioritized that a lot. Because I think, once again, you're too afraid of the audience. You want to make things look a certain way because of how the audience is going to act. And he wanted to have a fake fight in front of everybody, and that he wanted us to play a fake game, and that I would make a fake title screen for it, and we would just fight on the title screen. But then he wanted a level, and then he wanted more, and more, and eventually it got to the point of, listen, I get it, you want to have a full game here, actually? So I was saying, maybe we could even put it on Steam, and we charge like $1 for it. And I said, no. Here, I'll give you the source code. He found somebody who's going to be the new programmer, and I even went into a Discord group with the two of them and tried to talk him through the source code and just say, here's the starting point and everything if you want to work with it. Here's how you can do these things with it. I just gave all the work that I had. No, he made the characters and everything. It's his idea. It's just the game itself, the game portion of it. No, that was the thing that I was asked to do, and it was partially the reason it got, started as a project between the two of us.
So there's a lot to unpack there, right? Like, supposedly they started this game as like a fake game that would be part of the YIIK finale, which, they started putting those out in 2021, but the first trailer for Bulbo went up in early 2020, so I'm gonna be charitable here and say that Dingdong, you're hallucinating again. But also, those earliest builds of Bulbo, everything was pre-rendered. Like, all the backgrounds were CG pre-rendered stuff that Chris and his team did. And, Dingdong isn't an art guy, he's the programming guy. So if Dingdong is telling the truth, what he made with that source code that he graciously gave to Chris and his team is just a basic platformer movement system, because if you look at that early trailer, as good as the game looks visually, it's still, a pretty basic platformer at that point. And then, of course, if anyone has been following the development of that game, after a while they had to kind of scrap everything and start over because all the pre-rendered stuff was becoming too big, clunky, and unoptimized for PCs to run. So I'd be surprised if anything that Dingdong did was left in the current builds there are. And if there is anything there, you know, it's like basic platformer stuff. And I doubt that code was so essential that the Oneywear team couldn't recreate it. Although, you know, as we do know, they did have to recreate everything. All of this stuff, it just really paints Dingdong and Julian as unreliable narrators. Like going back to the original Crash Out where he mentioned the Apu thing and he's like, oh, we told Chris not to bring up Apu and he brought up Apu. And then you go back and you watch the video and it was Dingdong who brought up Apu. Like, come on now. When you notice these patterns of behavior, it really does make you call into question everything a person has said before. This video has taken me a little bit longer to make than expected. And during that time, it seems that Dingdong and Julian have quieted down a bit. You know, they haven't put their foot in their mouth again since. But this is what they usually do, so they might hunker down for a year or 2 or 3, and then they might come back up with something even more ridiculous next time. Either way, it's clear that they both seriously need help. I couldn't find the clip, but there's one where they basically responded to that sentiment where they're like, oh, you're just being dismissive by saying they need help, they need help. Why don't you donate to us and contribute to us so we can get help? It's like, bro, you've been taking money for your game on Patreon for how many years now? And you take donations on your live stream, and you have absolutely nothing to show for it. None of your games are done, and your mental health has only gotten worse, so clearly you never thought about putting that money towards bettering yourself at all. But you know, fair point. We are on the internet, so yeah, when most people say that they are being dismissive, it's basically saying, you are crazy, go away. But that doesn't change the fact that you genuinely do need help. People remember who you used to be. People want the less delusional versions of you back. But instead you're going to sit there and be like, oh, give us money or else we're not even going to try. Well, you know what? Back at Oneyplays, you were probably making a lot more money there. But you didn't want that because being a Let's Player is selling out, or not artistic enough, or not a legit form of success, or whatever bullshit you told yourself. And I really do think that they have deteriorated in a way. I mentioned before, it really does call into question stuff they've claimed in the past, like the whole Dream Daddy situation. And like I also mentioned before, you always have stuff like Dingdong deleting all of his posts on Blue Sky, like never archiving the live streams, and then being angry when people cut out stuff, saying, oh, you're leaving out context. But also getting mad at people for clipping it in the first place as if it's not a public live stream, as if you're not putting stuff publicly out in the internet. Like, what actually do you think is going to happen when you put drama out there? Well, that was basically everything I wanted to cover. Things have quieted down right now, and Chris and really anyone else from Oneyplays hasn't really responded to it, and I honestly think that's the best course of action, especially when most people are on your side. There's really no reason to take action and fan the flames yourself. So that's good to see, at least. But yeah, if Dingdong and Julian actually are serious about getting themselves some help, and donations actually do go towards that, then yeah, I don't really see a reason to discourage people from doing so, because it really would be sad to have another incident like this. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I don't enjoy engaging with internet drama, because it is entertaining to me. However, I do enjoy Oneyplays a great deal, and I would really hate to see worse things happen to anybody in that camp. So I really do hope things can turn around and get better for Dingdong and Julian. I honestly don't see that happening, but who knows? But on that note, that's all I've got for you today. Again, huge thank you to everyone that tuned in to the last video. That did numbers compared to everything else on this channel, so that was really cool to see. And if you made it this far into this video, I thank you for watching as well. I would appreciate it if you could like, comment, subscribe, share the video with anyone you think might be interested. If you're feeling generous and would like to help out even more, you can check out the links in the description. I would very much greatly appreciate that. And until then, I'll catch you guys on the next one.